saying that you're being recorded. So it'll make you leave if you don't want to be recorded. So that way, after the presentation, I can send out the presentation. So if you want to go back and rewatch it, I will be putting our information in the chat. So if you have any questions, please use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. I did have someone private message me earlier about how to add a background, because that was something I did earlier. So you might see that already in the chat about how to do a virtual background. So without further ado, Paul, it's on you. So great, thank you for doing this great topic for us. Oh, hang on, you gotta unmute. Perfect.
Good morning. Can you folks hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words, Aisha. I'm excited to be here. I really do miss First Fridays and getting to see everybody in person and the whole community spirit of the events. So I'm glad to be here with you guys, and thank you for taking the time and joining us. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to launch into my slideshow. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Now I lost a window, so I'm trying to. Okay, can you folks see that okay? The beginning of the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. So Aisha, are people going to be muted during the presentation? Or
I have everyone muted now,
okay.
just because, you know,
there's going to be like audio issues if we don't.
Yeah, everyone's muted except for you and I right now.
Okay. Terrific. I don't mind if people ask questions during the presentation, but at the same time, if that creates audio problems and we have to mute everybody to block out the loud mower noises, we'll just save that towards the end.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for your help. Answering questions and muting everybody, and this would be a mess without you. So yeah, we'll launch into Zoom. Thank you to the ERRC. Today we're going to cover, so there's a lot in Zoom. There are literally hundreds of settings. So we can only cover a portion of that, but I'm going to try to cover the most important topics, which are mainly security. There are lots of reasons to protect your meetings from people with bad intentions. And another thing, I want to get everybody to move towards hosting meetings where they're more comfortable, because it's a lot easier to participate in a meeting than it is to host a meeting. So that's the goal, is to get everybody up to the level where they can host their own meetings. Now the title did say that we're going to cover FaceTime as well. Zoom is a lot to cover. So as far as FaceTime, we'll be going over camera placement and lighting, but there aren't a lot of settings in FaceTime to actually change. So we're not going to spend very much time covering.
And we can always, this can always be an ongoing series if people decide they have more technical questions. We can always do another series down the line.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. A lot of the instructions that I'm going to go over are based on the Zoom security settings that are on the Vice Chancellor's office website. So we will follow up and send out this PowerPoint presentation. And Aisha also mentioned there's going to be a video available. And with the PowerPoint, we'll also send a link to the Vice Chancellor's instructions. Now, they're a little bit different. The instructions I'm giving you are modified because the faculty use the professional app, the professional desktop app, whereas I believe everybody here will be using the standard app. And it's a really small difference, but I modified the instructions nevertheless. So I wanted to start off with some good news. The PowCat at UCLA is doing well. This is a little off topic. This cat resides at Kaufman. The last I've seen, PowCat is being fed and cared for. And the PowCat is very friendly and highly sociable. Okay, so let's get into Zoom. A common mistake I see during Zoom presentations is poor positioning of laptop. So ideally, you want to have your webcam placed at eye level. So this would be appropriate here. The laptop should be at eye level at the lowest, so it could be higher, but for video, you definitely don't want it any lower than eye level. This is a very common mistake. You see this all the time. So here's an example of a laptop being positioned too low. And this is actually the normal position for typing. So this is how most people have their laptops positioned because they're primarily used for typing, not for webcam videos. So why does it matter? So if you can see, there is the elevated camera photos here, and here's the lower angle camera. And to me, the photo with the elevated camera looks better. So that's why you want to have your webcam positioned higher. It does affect your appearance. So there are a lot of stands that can help you adjust your laptop positioning. Here's one on Amazon, and this one's very adjustable. You can tilt the laptop at different angles. There's a clip that holds your laptop securely. And this is what my wife, who's a math teacher, uses. She does a lot of Zoom instruction. If you notice in this photo, the laptop is in typing position, but it's not in good webcam position. It's too low. So a cheaper solution would be something like this, but it's not recommended. This stand is too light and flimsy. There's not a lot of friction here, and the laptop could slide off the box. And the cardboard has no grip, so it's a little bit slippery. For example, if you're wearing headphones and you forgot you're wearing headphones, and let's say you got out of your chair, you could easily knock this laptop over. So this type of workaround is not recommended, although I'm not going to lie, I've done it before. A good way to improve the audio quality is by using a headset. So this will offset a lot of background noises that your computer microphone would pick up. Also, if you're not using a headset, you turn the volume too high, you could create feedback loops. Basically, the audio from the speakers is spilling onto your onboard mic, which would create really bad audio. So headsets such as these will make those issues less likely to occur. If you don't have a headset, you want to keep your computer volume on the lower side. and that will help to reduce feedback. As far as positioning your lighting or windows, a common mistake I've seen is people will have a window open behind them. This is super common. This will create a very strong backlight that will compete for attention, and it'll draw the viewer's gaze. It might not seem like a big deal, but over time it just becomes more unpleasant and more unsettling for the viewers. So try to avoid that. Here we have basically the same issue, but it's just from a lamp instead of a window. And so this is poor lighting. It's backlight. It creates shadows, and the light is distracting, and it's competing for attention. So that's something else that we want to avoid. Now here we have washout. So if you look here, my workspace is very limited, and I have the light blasting right into my face. And so if you notice, it's sort of discolored. There's too much orange. It's overexposed. It's flat. It's washed out. In general, fluorescent lighting does cast odd colors. So it is recommended, if you do buy fluorescent bulbs, they do recommend that you try to get a 5K color, something that's in the 5K color spectrum around there, and that'll produce better color tones. So underexposure is preferred to overexposure, meaning having too little light is preferred to having too much light. And you can kind of see, you can contrast this, where I have basically no light in my room, and the only light is coming from these closed blinds. And it actually looks better than the washed out, overexposed image. I'll go back to that per sec. So here we go. So my face is very orange. And here it's a little bit better. So you want to err on the side of underexposure as opposed to overexposure. Getting the right lighting is very tricky. Sometimes we have to resort to sort of gimmicks or tricks. In this case, I just turn the light around and it's reflecting off the wall. So it's more diffused. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. So it's much better than the light that was pointing directly in my face. It's a big enhancement. Okay, here I tried something else. I pointed the light upward so it's not shining directly in my face. And in my opinion, this is the best lighting right here. It was by pointing the light upwards, I got the intensity closer to the desired level. So I'll just go back real fast so we can contrast again. So this is reflected light. This is very low light. And this is light that's too strong, too direct. And we have backlight. Okay. So that's the basics on lighting. We just want to achieve something that's quick. Lighting is very expensive. There are people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars to set up lighting. So we're sort of setting the bar low. Unless you want to go out and spend a lot of money, we have to sort of set the bar low and just avoid the really big issues. So moving on from lighting, I wanted to go on to scheduling and securing meetings. So Zoom security has become a huge issue over the last 6 months. There have been a lot of incidents of Zoom bombing. So hosts have to take a lot of precautions to protect everybody from Zoom bombers. Zoom meetings are very vulnerable because anybody who has a meeting ID and password can gain entry. This is why we use the waiting room, which we'll cover more in depth later. This is also why we check settings with the web browser and the desktop app. So security creates a lot of extra work. It's sort of a necessary evil. And also consider your events. If you're hosting an event, if the event has a public invite, so it's posted on a website for the public at large to see, you have to place a higher emphasis on security because that means anybody can try to join your meeting. So be very cautious. So UCLA ITS highly recommends downloading and using the desktop app as opposed to the web browser. Anyone can download Zoom for free. You can download the app. The app is standard, so regardless if you're a pro user or a regular user, it's the same app. It's when you log in that the program will sort of accommodate the user. So the actual app can be used by a pro user or a regular user. It's the same app. Okay, so moving on. If you already have the Zoom app, you want to make sure that you check for updates periodically. If you open the app, the desktop app, you would click on this little icon on the upper right-hand corner, and you would get this drag down menu, and you would click check for updates. If you don't have the latest version, it will just automatically update to the latest version, which, if you can take a look here, is 5.3.0. That is the latest version of Zoom, 5.3.0. So yeah, you might be missing, if you are missing features, like you don't see a selection of virtual backgrounds, this is something you want to try to check to see if you have the latest update. So to schedule a meeting, UCLA ITS highly recommends that you use the Zoom web browser. So in order to do that, we'd have to log in, and we can use this URL here, which is zoom.us.signin.
I would just also add that if anyone on here is retired faculty, Emeriti, you do have access to a pro Zoom account. It's not for retired staff. They didn't allow that to be, that's such a larger number than our retired faculty. So I'll put that in the chat. So if you're on recall, or like I said, you're Emeriti, you do have access to a free pro account.
That's good to know. Thank you, Aisha.
Sure.
And I'll also paste the links to the Pro app. So it's just basically a different portal to sign in. If you're using the Pro app, you would click on sign in with SSO. And then once you got to the next page, you would just type in UCLA and hit enter. And then it would direct you towards the UCLA sign-in page. But we'll make sure to include that information. I wasn't sure if people here were on the Pro app or the regular. So that's good to know. Thanks, Aisha. So moving on to logging in. Once you're logged in, you're going to see a page similar to this.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Can I ask a question, please? What did SSO mean?
that means that's an organization logon. So let's see. I actually
So
don't.
it means single sign in. It's like single sign on or something along those lines.
Oh, a one-time event, one time.
Yes. So it's like the Duo multi-factor authentication. When you're an employee, when we log on, we have a special secured link to go to. And that's what sign in with SSO. That's for UCLA accounts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aisha. And if I could add, you sign in once, and I think you have permission to utilize a bunch of different services with that one sign in. So let's see. So yeah, we'll go ahead and I think I'm already here. So once you sign in, you can go ahead and click on schedule a meeting. And if you notice on the left-hand column where we have profile highlighted. And so now that we're going to encounter security settings, just a reminder to err on the side of caution. So it is recommended that you check this option here to generate automatically. This personal meeting ID is static, it doesn't change. So the generate automatically, since it's dynamic, is considered more secure. So make sure to check that option. So when you scroll down, you're going to see these options here. You want to make sure that you have the waiting room enabled. And this goes back to what I was discussing earlier. This is our only security, the waiting room. And so when you're in your meeting, the waiting room is going to look like this, and you will be able to screen your guests, and you could remove them if they're not actual guests, if they have bad intentions. So you definitely want to make sure to have this checked to protect yourself. Now, if you notice here, we're recommending that video is off for participant and host. This is sort of a privacy protection. It allows people to, it allows for a greater margin of error. So if somebody just joins a meeting, they might not be ready yet. So you want to give them that last confirmation so that, you know, the camera doesn't turn on before they're ready. Also, if you did encounter Zoom bombers, this would negate the damage that they could do. If you had this video off, they wouldn't be able to share any images. Here too, if you mute participants, muting participants would sort of minimize any damage inflicted by Zoom bombers as well. So again, we err on the side of caution, and then we'd go ahead and hit save. So once we have our, and then of course I didn't mention, there's also, a lot of this is intuitive. So like the topic, the time, those things are very intuitive. And then what else? So once we've scheduled the meeting and we've set the settings that I just went over, you can go ahead and just click here to copy the invitation. And once you do that, you would just open your preferred email provider and create a new email message. And you would paste that on, you would paste the invite onto the new message. So that is how you would send out your invites.
I want to mention this, and I'm sorry to chime in, but because I had a couple emails about this before. People were asking about like a 1-800 number for Zoom because they don't want to call, they don't want to go on the computer. They much rather call in. So unfortunately, most Zooms do not have a 1-800 option. There is a paid option to do that. People always seem to want a toll-free number. But if you look at the picture, they have a US San Jose number that's local. And they recently, with a newer update, have a Los Angeles local number. So I put that when I did our invite to this program, in case anyone here called in, you would have noticed that there's a LA number so that people can dial it without essentially having long distance fees or anything if they're using a landline.
Thank you, Aisha. That's good to know. So that covers sending out invites. And we'll move on to more security settings. Right here, you want to make sure that settings is selected on the left-hand column. And again, we're going to enable waiting room. So UCLA ITS does recommend that every time you schedule a meeting, you do check these settings and confirm that they're set appropriately. With some apps, they when they update the app, settings can will be restored to default. So the settings can change without you knowing, which is why it's important to recheck these settings every time you schedule a meeting.
Can I jump in with another question from the chat?
Yeah.
So we have a question in the chat asking, how can we set up a recurring meeting? So let's say you have your online happy hour Zoom buddy chat with your friends. How can you make this a recurring meeting?
Good question. So I scrolled back a few, and sorry I skipped that. But on the first schedule a meeting page, when we clicked here, and then this page opened up, there's this box here for recurring meeting. When you click this box, it's going to give you, it's very intuitive. It will give you the options for recurring daily, weekly, monthly, and all the options will pop up automatically. Like a window, a pull down window will pop up. So yeah, just make sure that you click this box and you will be able to set up your recurring meeting. While I'm here, also, if you do have access to the UCLA Pro app, you won't see this, which is, oh my gosh, which is for the non-Pro app users.
The 40-minute limit, right?
Yeah. And what I've been encountering, I've been experiencing a lot with the free app and the Pro app. As of now, if you have the free app, they give you a few long meetings. So they'll give, the first few times they gave me a warning, and I was able to hold 2-hour meetings. But I think after about the third one, they started ending the meeting. So there's a little bit of leeway, but that could change at any moment.
And there's another question, and let me know if you don't want pop-in question, then I'll save them to the end.
These are great. These are great.
So if you're using the desktop app for participating, can you use the desktop app to join as well as schedule? And I think that answer is yes, because if you go back a slide, there's an option for schedule and then join a meeting.
Yes. So this is the opening page for the app. And this big blue button right here would be to join a meeting. It will prompt you for the meeting ID and the meeting password, and you will be able to join. You can join from either the app or the web browser. And if you join from the web browser, it will offer you the option to open the desktop app and allow you to use that as opposed to using the web browser. So lots of options. Good question.
I will, sorry to jump in. I feel like I'm a Zoom expert after 6 months of doing it. So I sometimes have an issue because I have to host a lot of Zooms and then I get invited to a bunch. So just so in case anyone's wondering, you cannot host and participate on the same device. So there's sometimes if I'm hosting a meeting for one of our retiree book club groups or something, I'll host them on my iPhone. And then I'll get into my own meeting on my desktop. So they can just, but you can be in 2 different meetings, just not on one device, if that makes sense to what I'm saying to everyone. It's not, sorry to confuse people even more,
Are
but
you saying at the same time? Are you at 2 meetings at the same time?
I have been. I've hosted a meeting
Oh.
because, as I mentioned, our retirees don't have access to a pro account. So with our retiree association, I sometimes host their book clubs or their Alzheimer's support group meetings, and I'm not actively participating. I'm just hosting it. So
Oh.
I will host them on my iPhone, and then I will do my actual meeting on my computer. So you can be on 2 different meetings, just not from the same device.
So you have to pay attention to 2 computers.
Not necessarily, because I'm not participating in the book clubs. I'm just hosting it for them. And I'll
Oh.
check in on them maybe every 40 minutes or so, just to see if there's any tech support. But by now, after 6 months, everyone knows how to log in. So.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. Sorry for another question in the app. So then for the free apps, if the meeting ends, you could just sign back into the meeting. And is the desktop app more secure than the browser? I don't know about that one.
So according to UCLA ITS, the browser is more secure for scheduling the meetings and changing those settings. And then when you're actually joining the meeting and participating in the meeting, UCLA ITS recommends that you use the desktop app. So web browser for scheduling and changing settings, and desktop app to participate in meetings or to host meetings, according to UCLA ITS. And if you Google it, you'll probably get different answers. But I'll go with the UCLA ITS information. And also, I think if you're hosting, you have to use the desktop app. I don't think you could host using the web browser, I believe. So thanks for all the questions. These are great. Please keep them coming. So hosting meetings using the desktop app, you would go ahead and sign in. Oh, so it's one thing I wanted to mention is if you scheduled a meeting that you're hosting and you sign in later, make sure that you use the same credentials that you used when you signed in to schedule the meeting. Otherwise, you will lose your host privileges. So it's important to sign in with the same credentials. And I've seen that happen before in a meeting where they signed in with different credentials and they had no host privileges, and then things got sort of chaotic. And it took a few minutes to find a solution. So make sure that you use the same credentials.
We have another question
Yeah,
about
please.
how do you update your Zoom app on your iPad? And I think you kind of touched on that, but that's just like updating any app.
Oh yeah, it would be similar. So I'll go back. I think this is it. Yeah, so whether it's on your computer or your iPad, you're going to see a screen that's similar to this, and you would click on this upper right-hand corner where it says UCLA in the blue circle, and you would get this menu that would pull down, and you would click on check for updates. So pretty much you would do it through the desktop app by clicking on the upper right-hand corner.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you bet. Good question. Let's see. So we've signed in to the desktop app, and this is what the screen looks like once you sign in. Our meeting, and it should appear here. And so this is how we would check in and start our meeting, would be by clicking this start button right here.
Can I interrupt to ask a question?
Please, please.
And that is, could you deal with the question of virtual backgrounds? I succeeded in getting a background, but unfortunately it was superimposed on, I'm bedridden, on my bed head, and my own face was like a shadow. So I couldn't get the virtual background to just blank out the real background.
So that's a good question. And I forgot to mention something about that. When I was going over the basics of lighting, I forgot to mention that you don't need good lighting to get the virtual backgrounds to work, but you need sort of decent lighting. So,
Which kind of lighting?
well, it was basically the first part of the presentation was about how to get the light in front of you and to get the light sort of at the appropriate intensity. So if you didn't catch that part, we are, as Aisha mentioned, this is being recorded, so you can review that first part of the presentation. And also,
So if I can somehow find there's a website on the EER site that will tell me how to download successfully download a virtual background.
Right.
We don't have that. We don't have that on our website. So let me make sure I understand your question. Are you trying to? You said your picture was really pixelated. Is that why it?
I'm in my 80s and I am I'm a digital dummy. So it's all very difficult. I'm also bedridden. So I can't come in and discuss it. Well, I guess UCLA is shut anyway. I tried to download. I get very tired of everybody knowing I'm in bed. And so I try to download a
Like a profile picture.
background. Yeah,
Okay.
like what's behind Paul now.
Okay.
The beach and the palm tree. And what I did is I got like a double. It's very peculiar. They were superimposed and the screen was flickering and my face was more or less, it was present, but it was more or less illegible.
So what I will do is I'm going to send everyone that signed up. I'll do a couple different screenshots of where to select to upload your profile. I think you might be better off with a profile picture, Joanna, versus a digital background.
I might be better with a what, a profile?
So, for example, if I want to turn off my camera like this, you see me about 10 years ago. So that way you can have your profile picture and people have no idea what I'm doing. I could have my finger in my ear right now and you would have no idea.
No, but isn't that another issue altogether? I don't know that I'm capable of doing that.
They're very similar.
Let's
so
keep it very busy, please. I don't know anything about apps, so let's keep it real simple.
Okay, I will send everyone a step-by-step guide on how to do a profile picture and also a virtual background. I don't know if that's in Paul's. Yes, I'll send, because that would involve me kind of like showing you how to point to it on your own computer. So I don't know if Paul's going to share that part of his presentation, but if it's not, I will send step-by-step guides with what button to select when you're looking at the screen so that you can create either a digital picture like the one I just had up, or you can do a virtual background. Okay.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting.
oh, no.
That's what we're here for. These are the questions that I was expecting.
We're here for your questions. That's what this presentation is about. So, so thank you. So yeah, about virtual backgrounds, if the lighting is really bad, virtual backgrounds tend to not work. So you don't need perfect lighting, but if the lighting is terrible, and I showed you guys some examples with a strong backlight, that would sort of be problematic for the virtual background. I don't know if you guys have seen the virtual backgrounds when they go bad, but they look really weird. So where was I? Okay, I think I was at, we were at signing into the desktop app, and then we'll go ahead and start our meeting. So once we start our meeting, we have to deal with what again? Security, of course. So we start by privatizing the chat settings. Oh, and by the way, I think we could send this PowerPoint to all the attendees, just an FYI. So we'll try to do that on Friday or Monday, or at least a download link in case anybody needs to refer back to these. So yeah, privatizing chat settings. When you click this chat icon here, you get this chat window here. And then when you click these three little dots here, you can set things so that only people can only host with the chat. And this is, again, to prepare for potential Zoom bombing. If somebody were to bomb your event, they wouldn't be able to chat with all the attendees. They would only be able to chat with the host. So this would negate any potential damage that they could inflict. So that's basically the privatized chat settings. And once you've started the meeting, you can also begin managing your waiting room. And you would do that by clicking on this participants icon here. So once the participants window comes up, this is basically the waiting room here. And you see Joe Bruin is in the waiting room. And you see Paul Park, two Paul Parks are in the meeting. So let's say a lot of times people will log in using a different email identity. So let's say somebody's borrowing their partner's computer. So they're not on the list of attendees. Let's say I were hosting this and I noticed, hey, I don't know Joe Bruin. So what I could do is message Joe Bruin and say, hey, Joe Bruin, you're not on the list of attendees. And Joe Bruin would probably respond back, oh, I'm sorry, I'm using my partner's laptop. My real name is Joe Stevens. And I look on my list of attendees and I see, oh, okay, there is a Joe Stevens here. And then I would click admit. So if you're unsure, it's good to check and confirm via chat, and you would do that by clicking this message. Once everything's okay, you've confirmed, you can click admit. And then we want to mute all current and new participants. And once the meeting is started, it's very easily to unmute everybody. But for security purposes, you want to start the meeting with everybody muted.
Is there a way, so we have someone in the chat that is actually hosting their classes on Zoom. Is there a way that Zoom can track attendance of a class? So I guess, is there a way to see, I guess, to know who attended like today's session?
Right. That is a great question. If I could get back to the person who asked that, because I hear my wife talking about that. She's a high school math teacher, and so I've overheard her talking about that a lot. That's a big hassle for her, is tracking attendance. So I will have a good answer for you soon. Sorry,
Okay.
I don't know.
No, I'm not sure. That's actually a great question. I don't think I've ever noticed that, but I mean, besides doing a screenshot of your participant list, like right now, if I take a screenshot, that's the only thing I can think of. And I'll chat with that person on the sidebar to let them know but I don't know there's a way to actually track attendance through Zoom.
Can you let all of us know?
Yes, if I get an answer, we sure will.
Yeah, we'll check on that, and thanks for the question. So moving on from managing the waiting room. So let's see, this would be purging a disruptor would be sort of a worst case scenario if a troll somehow made it into your waiting room. When you open this participants window, you can go ahead and just click on this icon, and you would highlight and click remove, and they would get kicked out of the meeting. Of course, you wouldn't want to readmit that person. So that's how you would get rid of participants, unwanted participants. So that's basically the gist of what I had to cover today. We could take some more time to answer more questions. I don't know if people just want to use this as an opportunity to practice things. If anybody maybe wanted to practice chatting, experiment with their virtual backgrounds. How do people feel?
Oh, will you send us instructions for downloading the professional app? Because I'm using the a general one, but I didn't know I can sign. I'm an Emeriti and I can sign in, but I don't know how to download the UCLA app.
Yes, so I did add it to the chat, but I will put it on the PowerPoint, and I'm gonna put it in the chat again. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. And I did kind of find just by Googling some things. So, but there's I think I did find how to pull a report on Zoom. But okay, I'll add this to the list of things to do. I mean, I can kind of maybe screen share it. Ooh. I don't know if that person's still in the chat, but or still in the meeting. So let's back up to someone else's question before I go to how to do a report. How do you split people into subgroups and bring them back together? That's like for a large meeting room, like a breakout room.
Aisha, do you have experience with breakout rooms? I'm not even seeing the function right now.
So, well, I made you, let me see, because I made you the, well, I think you, but by me making you the host, I'm not sure if you would have had to have hosted it. So, and this was done before we had the option to do breakout rooms, because that involves a larger license to do breakout rooms. So I can kind of answer that question a little bit. So there's actually a couple questions in there. So if you want to do the breakout rooms, that requires an account with Zoom called a large meeting, and it's not free. So you would have to purchase a larger meeting option. And then when you do that, and you're scheduling that meeting from the beginning, let me see if I can screen share. That might be easier to explain to people. So I'm going to start screen sharing. Let's see, how do I do that? Hang on.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm actually logged into my non-pro account, so that's why I'm not seeing breakout.
Okay, so everyone can see this. Let me close the chat. So I'm screen sharing. So if I want to do a meeting, let's say, so I want to do, hang on, close this up, schedule a meeting. And I could just do blah, 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 blah. And then down here, if you keep scrolling down, you see where it says breakout room pre-assigned. Can everyone see that here? This is what I would select if I wanted to, again, pre-scheduled breakout rooms. So like say I know Bob, Jane, and Mary are coming and I want them to be in a breakout room, I could select that. But when I do a regular meeting, I'll have that option to do a breakout room. But because the Zoom we're in now, I wasn't anticipating doing a breakout room, so I didn't select that option to have it here. To answer the other question about how to do attendance, you would go to, you're on the web browser here, you see where it says reports, and then it says usage, and it says I can view the meeting. Let me go back to what it said. I can view the meetings, participants, and the meeting minutes within a specified time range. So if I select this, it tells me all my meetings. Oops, if I go here, it'll tell me the registration for those meetings. So see, this is where we are now, the virtual tech presentation. If I generate a report, it'll tell me who's in this meeting for everyone that registered. And I hope I'm not going too fast for people, but that's the option there. So this one, back for usage. For the book club that I did, you see how it asked me about Zoom rooms, but I can see that there's 6 participants that came to the book club that I did yesterday. If I click on it, it'll have their names and you could just export it and see how long they were in the meeting.
Great, thanks, Aisha.
And I just learned that like 2 days ago.
So to reiterate what Aisha just said, you could access the reports through the Zoom website, web portal. And also when you set up your meeting, you would enable breakout rooms when you're scheduling and setting up the meeting. And I believe you have to have the pro license, and then you would see the option for the breakout room during the meetings. So thanks, Aisha. She's a lot more experienced and knowledgeable in Zoom.
It's all
than I
trial
am.
and error. So we did have a couple other questions, and I know we only have about 4 or 5 minutes left. I don't want to keep people too long, but one of the questions I had was someone's name not coming up, but I think they fixed it. Yeah, okay, I see. So yeah, you fixed your name. So there are options to rename yourself in the group, because some people share the account with the spouse or a loved one. I don't think we have a way to share that right now, but I'm trying to think if there's another question. Is the UCLA app just for the UCLA meeting? No. So the Zoom app is for the whole world to get on Zoom. The UCLA one is just a free pro account for Emeriti and staff, current staff, not for retired staff.
Okay.
Did anyone else have any questions on the reports? I saw someone saying something about it. I don't know if it's available. So the only issue is I don't know what's available on the non-pro app. If you log into the website of zoom.us, you'll see whatever options you have on the left to do.
Thanks for
And I can
demonstrating.
actually, so if anyone wants, if people want to see how to do a profile picture, I can share that. I think that was one of the bigger questions. How do I do a background and a profile picture? So let's just, if you don't mind me, Paul, showing that real quickly.
No,
Is that
please.
okay? I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you.
I feel like I just took over your meeting.
You're
Okay.
my savior.
Okay, everyone, ready? Everyone got their seatbelt on? Let's do this, okay? I'm gonna screen share how to do a profile picture. And I think, where's Joanna? She had a question about the background. Did she leave? Uh-oh. Well, it was for her, but okay. Everyone else ready? Let's do this, okay? So I'm gonna screen share. And how do I do this? Boom, okay. So let me back up some. I'm on Zoom Oh, okay. So I went to Zoom, UCLA. I went on Zoom. Once you get to Zoom, you go to profile. See this profile up here? And there I am 10 years ago, about 10, 20 pounds lighter, maybe. I would just go to change, and I could pick any picture that I want on my computer. So let's say I upload another picture. I don't know what other pictures I have on my computer, but you would just pick another picture of yourself or your cat or your iguana, whatever. And then that's where it goes. If you have a question about the profile picture, unmute and ask that. Or else I move on to the backgrounds. Okay. Okay, so for backgrounds, let's see, can I do that from, let's see. Let's see, account profile. Okay, can everyone see this long bar?
Yeah, the one on the bottom.
Well, the bar that shows like the video, the security, participants. I don't think it shows that. So let me do it like this. Okay, hold on one second. Okay. Okay, so for the virtual background, you see this icon right here called, it says stop video. It looks like a little camera. People see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you click on this little up arrow, and then you'll get a drop down screen that says this: choose virtual background. Once you click that, you will have some pre-zoomed backgrounds. You'll have one that says none, which all of you are probably on now. So let's go ahead and try to see if we can do a background. If everyone's found this little icon and the arrow, go to choose virtual background and see if we can have a different background. So, oh yeah, Joyce did it. Good. So we have the Golden Gate Bridge is pre-selected there. Some grass. There's the Northern Lights. What Paul has is a moving background. And then I added, if you hit this little plus button over here, I added the Bronx Zoo and the Arboretum in New York because that's where I'm originally from. So you can add your own virtual background pictures. Let me see if everyone's doing that because I can't see what people are doing.
How do you add your own background pictures?
Okay, do you see this plus sign where it says virtual backgrounds? You can download your own picture and do that like that.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions about that? Has anyone else tried it? Let's see. Let me stop sharing and see who's done it. Oh yeah, Alice did it. Otto, Jose, Rick, Angie. These are great photos. You guys are so good. This is great. So we're a few minutes over. So let me do a couple more questions. And I'll reply to that person privately. This is, again, I'm using this from my desktop. So it might be a different button on your iPad or your phone. Okay. But everyone's background looks great. Is anyone having a issue finding their background? Okay.
Aisha?
Yes.
This is Annie. Are you seeing that I'm fading in and out of my background?
You are, and
Yeah.
that might be
And
because
I think that's the issue that the other lady was complaining about, because
Right.
this happened. My understanding is this is because my computer does not have updated technology, and I have to get a new computer to get this to work.
oh, really? That could be an issue. I think sometimes depending on what you're wearing, or if your background is too busy, it doesn't translate well. And there's a whole nother button that says about using a green screen.
Well, I've done this with a laptop from the exact same place and it's fine.
Oh,
But on this
okay.
particular computer, the technology is a little old.
Okay, good to know. Well, this looks good, everyone. So we're already over time, so I don't want to keep people longer. And we have a question about FaceTime. So let's have another presentation down the line. But I will answer this one question about if you're retired staff, you cannot get the UCLA Pro account. They've only just recently opened it for Emeriti because a lot of them are on recall and still teaching. So retired faculty does have access to this UCLA account, but not retired staff, unfortunately. And I've asked that a couple times over the past 6 months. Okay, so I'm gonna try to help. Let's do the video. I'm sorry, let's do the profile picture. Sorry, let's do the background one more time to see if we can get people. And then if you're okay, you can go ahead and leave the Zoom. And I want to thank Paul for your wonderful presentation. So I will show everyone how to do a background just in case you missed it. And then I will we'll schedule something else in the future about FaceTime and try to answer any more questions people have. So, okay, I'm going to screen share again for the digital background, okay?
Okay, thank you, Paul, and thank you, Aisha.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so here we are. You see this video icon? Callie, do you see that? You hit this little arrow button right here, and you'll have a drop-down option of choose virtual background. Once you choose virtual background, this pops up. And then none is what we're normally on. There's none normally. You can pick the Golden Gate Bridge, some grass, whatever this NASA video picture is. And then these are your pre-filtered pictures. I hit this button here, the plus button, and I added a couple of my own personal photos. Okay. Does that make sense? Did Callie get it? Okay. I'm asking you to unmute. Okay, I can take some more questions if people just want to ask questions.
Yeah, when I do it and I hit the only option I have is the black. None of the other things come up.
The plus sign doesn't come up?
Oh no, when I hit my camera and say, I go into the video and then I choose, it says like choose your background. When I hit that, none of the options come up. It just has the black sign. I don't get the other option, the other standard options.
Well, I'm kind of stumped. So
well, that's okay. At least now I know. I can
Is everyone else doing okay? Everyone else practice making a background?
I think the issue, is it Carly?
Carly Rogers. Yeah.
It might be updates. If there's things missing from the application, if you're on background and filters and you see your photo and then there are no available backgrounds underneath, if you update to the latest version, it might, there's a good chance it'll fix that problem.
Yeah, try that.
FYI.
Okay, you have a question, Alice?
Actually,
Can we do one more thing? Has everyone ever used the reaction button? Okay, so reaction button. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you see a little smiley face with a plus sign by his head. There you go. Angie's got it. You see that?
No, don't see it.
Do you see anything with the little smiley emoji with the plus sign by his head? I love this. It's great. No, you don't see it, Elisa? There you go.
Got
It's
it.
just something silly and fun, but it's there for everyone to use. And I think, you know, if we do another program, maybe we'll dive more into how to do a poll, what that's about, and some other advanced features. But this is, you know, there's a lot today about your camera lighting and everything and backgrounds. So I definitely think it warrants maybe another conversation with how to do stuff. And if you have very specific questions, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat again, because it's difficult not knowing what level to start people at if we're all having different level of questions. Because I wasn't expecting us needing to go from basics as like logging on, because everyone made it today, so that's great. So any other following questions before we go ahead and wrap it up today?
That email again?
I'm sorry?
Email again?
My
Your
email? It's in the chat.
Okay.
You know how to get to the chat? Does everyone know how to get to the chat? Okay. So I will send you an email with the PowerPoint selection, the PowerPoint and the video of today's program, so you can rewatch it if you have more questions. But I think we did pretty good. People, I see Carly changed her name, so that's great. Do people know how to change their name? Should we do that? Well, maybe next time. Okay. So, well, you know what? I'll say briefly how to change your name. It takes 1 minute. So if you want to change your name, if you look at your own video box, you'll see mute and 3 little white dots. Does everyone see that? 3 little white dots. So I'm going to change my name right now to woohoo. Okay. Can everyone change their name to see how they can work it out? You clicked on the 3 dots. Go to rename, and then type in whatever you want that's not profanity, please. Thank you. All right, perfect. And then with those 3 dots, you should also see where it says edit profile picture. That's a quicker way to get to where we were to change your photo. You see that? The 3 dots, I can't hear you yet. So the 3 dots, you can do stop your video, you can rename yourself, edit profile picture.
Mine says add profile.
I can't hear you. It's Rick?
Yeah,
I can hear you, but
yeah.
you're it's quiet.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. Mine says add profile picture.
Well, then
Maybe
maybe
because
you
I
don't
don't
have
have one. That's why.
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
All right.
All right.
So I think we're going to stop today because this can go on for hours. But email me if you have specific questions, and we'll have a very Zoom specific meeting, okay? All right, that was fun.
Thanks.
I like all the backgrounds. All right, thank you again so much, Paul. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, Aisha. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.